the Vault is the latest project from you. I remember hearing about it about 10 years ago when it was called the Gene Simmons 100. Is that the same exact project?
I don't remember Gene Simmons 100, but at various points I was planning on Monster, then it became Alter Ego, but I've been working on it at least 8 years. Compiling, collating, editing, and also baking. A lot of people don't know that the old-fashioned way of recording involved 24-track tape. It's difficult to describe if people don't know what it is.
Sure.
And those were stored in vaults, and over the decades, literally, in some cases 44 years, they start to get moisture between the tapes and everything. So to cut the story short, we had to literally bake the tape like cake in an oven, just like that, so that we could play it at least once to download all the stuff on digital.
Right.
And it took many, many years to get certain rights. I mean, if somebody happened to be in the studio, you want the lawyers to be happy and all that. So finally, I'm proud to say, timing's everything. Kiss is #1 gold record award-winning group of all time.
Sure.
In all categories, and that's cool because we never really played the game. And I'm 68 and healthy and strong.
Yes.
Kiss is touring and we're having a great time. But what's the legacy? What's that thing that says thank you to the fans for giving me everything? So what I'm going to do is, at my cost, no fancy schmancy, I'm going to fly around the world. If you buy a Vault, one of the few thousand that's going to be available around the world, literally a few thousand, I will hop on a jet and I'll go see you in Finland and in Russia and New Zealand. I don't care where it is. I'm going to come see you, and I will hand deliver the Vault to you and your friends at a convenient time. I don't mean 10 years from now, but hopefully in the next year, where you are, I'll come to you and I will hand deliver the Vault into your hands.
Right.
So here's what the Vault is. You got to go to genesimmonsvault.com. When you go there, you'll see, and you're seeing it for the first time.
Yes.
Real metal wheels, metal hardware. Here, snap that handle just so you can hear. Let it go. Just let go.
Oh, you want me to actually
let it go? Yeah.
Just like a road case.
Real hardcore.
Yeah.
This thing's going to last a lifetime, I hope. Inside is 50 years of unreleased music spanning 2016 all the way back to 1966 when I recorded my very first song.
So way before Wicked Lester.
That's right. 1966 is literally the previous century. My Uncle Giraffe was the first song, and it goes all the way up 50 years in the future, then to 2016. The tracks, 150 songs, 10 CDs, and a partridge in a pear tree. Inside, the CDs are original versions of Christine 16.
Yes.
With Edward and Alex Van Halen. 2 other songs they appear on. A few songs that I co-wrote with Bob Dylan, including the actual songwriting sessions with us sitting around talking and trading licks. That's in the box set.
Now, if I can pause it right there and ask you about that, because I remember hearing on the Love Gun reissue that you guys teaching each other the parts that way. Did you always have the recorder going when rehearsing?
No, it just sort of happened. Sometimes you record it, sometimes not. In this day of virtual reality, I mean, the phrase didn't exist then. Now we record everything. You go to take a poop, you run the selfie, and you do all that stuff. Now, in those days, you did nothing. You just led your life, and if you wanted to take a photo, you had to buy a camera.
Of course.
So the reason I recorded Bob and myself writing the song is, for one thing, to remember what the parts were, and the other thing is I couldn't believe I'm writing a song with Bob Dylan.
Sure.
So I recorded our conversation, the process, and all that. And he was very, very kind and always appreciated. So that's on the box set as well. And I have to say, of course there's extras, the huge book, which I'm sure you skimmed and took a look at.
I had the pleasure of, you had, photos and anecdotes, and also the writing credits, which people don't always put in the book.
Who wrote the songs? Mostly everything's written by myself. Every once in a while somebody co-wrote something.
Sure.
And I talk about that, where I was, what the writing process was, what the instrumentation is, and and also the photos go all the way back to the dawn of time, before dinosaurs ruled the earth. I mean, it's a it is the largest box set of all time. So again, if you weren't listening, you buy your Gene Simmons box set, the largest box set ever,
Sure.
for the price of 2 iPhones. I will get on a jet at my cost, and I will hand deliver the vault to you wherever you are.
Well,
And then there are other things we could do together. You can be an executive producer. There could be a home experience. But the bottom line is, you buy your vault, I'll hand deliver it to you wherever you are.
so going back, when you were first thinking of the, Monster or whatever it was called, and it was around 100 songs, did you also have the packaging in mind?
No, I did not. I thought that the packaging shouldn't be like the flimsy stuff you buy in stores.
Sure.
More and more, there are less and less stores.
Yes.
So there are hardly any retail places, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because the Gene Simmons Vault.com is not available anywhere in any store. There's no also online component. There will not be a cheaper version. There won't be a watered down version. You won't be able to buy the action figure or the book separately. It's all in one statement. A McLaren, the
Yes.
cars are never on sale.
Right.
Rolls Royce is a Rolls Royce, and that's it. And for me, it's a thank you to the fans for giving me the life I never dreamed I'd have, which is why I'm willing to hand deliver. You know that phrase, the mountain won't come to you, Mohammed?
Right.
Well, guess what? The mountain's coming to you.
So Gene the Mountain Simmons is coming to you.
You bet your ass.
So having listened back to everything,
Have you heard anything?
I heard the 1.5-minute sampler. I heard the Christine 16 demo, which was just fantastic. I've been a longtime fan, so I've always listened for the bonus tracks. But I'm curious if you have a favorite song on the box set.
It's really tough to talk about it that way, because it's not so much what is the best song, because people can argue about that, but it has to do with what song brings the memories.
Sure.
Because songs are more than songs. People get married to them. People
Yes.
use them when they pass away. People use them when babies are born, when there are parties, sweet 16s. And, it's just, songs are the soundtrack of our lives. Not just mine, but anybody's.
Yeah.
So for me, My Uncle is a Raft probably has the most gravitas, they say, because it's the very first song I wrote. And why on earth I decided to get together with Larry Martinelli and Mark Nyberg, my two junior high school buds, and record it, I'll never know. But the recording's pretty damn good. It's clear. It has a kind of a, Majesty's a pretty nice girl, but she doesn't have a lot to say. It's got that kind of an innocent kind of quality.
Of course. So was that the first song you also wrote, or just the first song you recorded?
It was close to the beginning. There were a few other attempts at writing the first song, but I will have to say that it's the first song I ever recorded. Yeah.
And you mentioned before about, legal clearances. I'm somebody that comes from that kind of background. Were there any songs that you wanted to include in this box set but you couldn't due to clearances?
No. And I did all the clearances myself. I left the lawyers on the sidelines, and I contacted everybody that was involved and just made sure, if you have any objections, let me know. Otherwise, have a good life.
Sure. You mentioned the Van Halen Brothers before, and there's a rumor that you've wanted to put out the demo that you produced and own, but there's been hurdles in getting that out there.
No hurdles, just out of respect to the brothers and the band. I wouldn't do it without their okay, and so they weren't okay with it, so I held on to it. I mean, it's about ethics and morality, more about the legal issue. Do I own the 24 tracks? Yeah, I do. But, you have to understand that above and beyond all that stuff, you got to be able to go to sleep at night and just kind of say, I did the right thing. When I couldn't get Van Halen a contract, they were signed to my production company. I couldn't get them a contract right away, and I had to go back out on tour with Kiss. So I did what lawyers and everybody around me said was a stupid idea, but I sleep well at night. I tore up the contract and I said, you're free.
So they were signed to Man of 1,000 Faces?
My company, yes.
Did you have other bands under production deals? Because I know that you put out EZO and other bands through Simmons Records, but had you done other production deals at the time?
Van Halen is the only band I signed to Man of 1,000 Faces as a production company. And later on I had the labels and had various House of Lords and lots of other things, and also produced other bands for other labels. But Van Halen's the only one I thought had the legs to go all the way, and they sure have.
So moving on a little bit, if you don't mind me talking about other areas here, I want to know, as somebody that's been at the top of the music game for decades, a proven entrepreneur, a television star. I know that your reality show had more episodes than I Love Lucy. So many accolades, but what is it that you're still trying to accomplish? Is there anything?
Oh, sure. Every day you wake up and if your heart is beating and you have, good health, and if you live in America where the sky's the limit, there's always another mountain. You get to the top of the mountain and the view is great, and you think you're on top of the world. So you look to your left and the right, and there are other mountains, more mountains to climb. So at the same time, I'm putting out another book.
Okay.
On power, relaunching a second magazine, because I had one before.
Tongue.
This one called Mogul, which is coming out shortly.
Wow.
I have a cola line called Cola.
I see it over there in the box.
Oh, there you go. It's over there.
Yeah.
And, just an awful lot. Films and Family Office and lots of other stuff.
Well, the Moneybag Cola reminds me of two things. The first is there was a band called Teenage Fan Club, a Scottish band, and I remember the credits to their album say, a Moneybag appears courtesy of Gene Simmons, something to that effect. You're known for having a lot of trademarks.
You're going to ask me a question about that?
Well, I was just curious.
Did I sue them?
No, absolutely not.
I did.
Oh, you did sue them,
Of
though.
course, I sent a cease and desist and say, while I wish you all the best of luck, you may not use my Moneybag logo to sell your product because it's mine. But if you want to ask me to do that, I may allow you to do that. So they asked me, and I said, fine, just give me credit, it's mine.
Okay, got it. But what I'm curious about is, I know you've been heavily involved in real estate over the years, but how you learned about trademarks and how that could be a valuable business.
For fuck's sake. All you knuckleheads out there, how did you ever find out the earth, if you travel 225 miles per hour, you can get out of the orbit of the earth and get into space? Read! Pick up your goddamn cell phone. It's all the knowledge of mankind is in your hand. It's a cell phone. I don't mean you. I mean just generally.
Of course.
Anything you want to find out is right there in your hand. Here, watch. I'm going to ask Siri. Siri, how far away is the moon?
Checking on that. The distance from the Earth to the moon is about 230,025 miles.
Well, there you
Okay,
go.
now you know. How tough was that? Gene, how did you ever find out the Earth? I asked Siri.
But your involvement with trademarks is decades before that technology.
That's true, but there were things called libraries in those days, and there were things called books that people put out, and you could go into a public library and for free. And if you were a voracious reader, and I was and continue to be, you could go in there and read all you want. And I'm the only person I've ever met who's read the Encyclopedia Britannica from cover to cover. First volume to the last.
That's very interesting. I remember reading that when you were a kid going to yeshiva more of the week than not.
People in Wisconsin have no idea what you're talking about. You want to tell them what yeshiva is?
How would you best explain it? Would you just say
Jewish theological seminary? It's like a religious school, but it also teaches, sciences, math, and stuff like that.
Sure. So while you were studying there, you were spending a lot of your free time in the library.
Yeah. After school, I'd go right to the library every day.
And were you primarily reading nonfiction things to learn?
Everything. Dinosaurs, Stegosaurus, Dimetrodon. I won second prize in the 5th grade science fair when I could barely speak English.
Yeah.
Could barely speak English because I was fascinated that you can learn stuff and, just, I guess, impress your friends and who the hell knows what. So I've got lots of information in my mind that, relatively speaking, is useless, except that it's not. It is useful, depending on where you go, what you do, and who you rub shoulders with. See what I did there?
I see what you did there.
Information is power.
Yes.
And especially because all the information of mankind is right there in the palm of your hands on your cell phone. You have an inferred fiduciary duty. You see what that phrase, it's a business phrase, but it means It's your responsibility. You can be an idiot and not know anything, and people will think you're an idiot because you don't know anything, or educate yourself. And guess what? It's free.
That's true. That is absolutely true. So going back, if you don't mind me asking a little more about the trademarks, there was a rumor that you trademarked OJ within the context of orange juice. Is that true?
Well, that's urban myth. It's urban legend. It's not true.
Okay.
And I don't mean urban in the sense of black, because urban has become like...
Of course.
Once upon a time, urban in the dictionary actually meant city.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an urban myth.
Okay. Well, moving on, you mentioned that you're working on a new book, but your last book, Me Incorporated, you talked about how you had multiple jobs going on at the same time. And nowadays, you arguably have multiple jobs going on at the same time between KISS, between all of your merchandising, etc. Was that a conscious decision as an adult, or did that just naturally happen that even though you were very successful in KISS, you still look to do other things?
I think it's fair to say that many people look to get a job. I've never looked to get a job. I've always just enjoyed working, and I would urge everybody out there, if you're lucky to be living in America, that maybe worry less about getting a job and just concentrate more on the love of labor.
Sure.
If you love working, you'll get jobs.
At what point did you quit your job with regards to KISS being full-time? Because I remember hearing that you'd saved up money to bankroll KISS.
$23,000.
And then you were on the road with KISS, but came off the road and you were working and the other members weren't.
That's right.
So at what point did you get to quit that
About
job?
a year afterwards, within a year and a half of starting, we were headlining Anaheim Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Before cell phones, before MTV, in point of fact, even before voicemail came into it. Voicemail, for those of you that are 2 years old or millennials, which is the same thing, is telephones started to have machines attached that could record messages, vocal messages left by people who couldn't get you on the phone. That was voicemail. People don't use that anymore pretty much. They just text and instant gratification. But in the early days, even before that, we were headlining stadiums. But I was making $75 and then $85 a week.
The tides have turned a little bit into that being maybe your per diem these days, but...
Oh, a lot more than that.
Well, I want to ask you about a few different ventures of yours.
Yeah.
Where did the idea for Rock and Brews come from?
The idea for Rock and Brews came from a gentleman named Dave Ferrano, who is the brother of Del Ferrano. Del Ferrano has been our licensing and merchandising guy through various companies, and eventually settling on Epic Rights. They do us, Barbra Streisand, AC/DC,
Sure.
that licensing and merchandising. And it was his brother who came from the same world who had an idea about a culture, about an eatery that combined classic rock and so on. And I will tell you, we're only a few years old, but to give you an idea, 2 Rock and Brews at LAX, 2 in Cabo, Hawaii, they're all spread all across America. And even at LAX, there are 2 Rock and Brews. We even broke ground on a Rock and Brews casino and resort in Oklahoma.
Yes.
And there are more coming.
That was my next question about the casino.
Oh, that's coming. Not only that, but our casino at the largest Indian resort, casino and resort, the San Manuel tribe. We have the Rock and Brews Casino and Resort within the San Manuel Casino and Resort. So it's all going gangbusters. And of course, if you're tuning in late, go to GeneSimmonsVault.com to find out all the latest and the greatest on the largest box set of all time. I mean, this is badass.
Yes.
I'm so proud of this. And I forgot to mention that there's secret drawers, secret cubicles where you press, it opens up, and there are personal items that I put in there so that as many as possible, these box sets, and it's tough to call them box sets because they're another animal altogether.
Absolutely.
It doesn't look like one, doesn't move like one, it's much heavier, it's much bigger. I mean, it's just everything I've ever dreamed of, so I'm really proud.
With Rock and Brews, do you have a favorite item on the menu?
Yeah, my downfall is sweets, unfortunately, so I've got to watch my girlish figure, so now I'm just eating, protein, no carbs.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing, I don't know, they call them beignets
Yes.
or bread pudding.
I'm surprised you're not making me explain that to the readers in Wisconsin.
Well, because later you'll come in and edit.
Well, the KISS Cruise is another one of your entrepreneurial efforts. And what surprises me about the KISS Cruise is you've talked in your books about how you've never gone on a vacation, you don't like to vacation.
Right.
What do you do when you're on that ship besides perform?
Night and day, you're busy. It's a good 12-hour day. We literally meet and greet every single one of those thousands of fans on the ship. We make sure every single fan on that cruise gets a photo.
Mm-hmm.
We make sure every one of the fans gets some time with us. And we do contests and symposiums and all kinds of activity besides unplugged shows and concerts at night. I mean, they're full days.
So do you just keep yourself busy with the work, or do you actually do sort of a vacation-like thing for any of them?
Never done that. And on the cruises, I do the Gene Simmons Master Class, where I teach people who've never played an instrument or never written a song to both play and write their own first song within 2 hours.
And what's the food situation like on the cruise?
The best. I mean, there are many restaurants, many choices, Chinese, Italian, and whatever you like. And there are gyms and sports centers, and you go shopping and gambling. I mean, it's a floating city, really.
If I can move on to some questions that artists and celebrities have given me to ask you.
Sure.
Okay, the first one comes from Diamond Dallas Page, WWE and WCW wrestler, who I believe you've hung out with a few times. He wanted to know what it would take for you to try DDP Yoga, his fitness system.
I mean, I appreciate anybody doing anything to stay healthy, sound mind, sound body, but I don't do any of that. I'm a simple guy in Los Angeles. I try as much as possible to go hiking in the Santa Monica Mountains. And you try to get your heartbeat going. But, 5 miles or more. You do that 5 times a week, and that's 25 miles of heart-thumping stuff. You lose lots of weight.
Absolutely.
And of course, you got to watch what you eat. It's the corny stuff that nobody talks about that you still have to do. And as you get older, you got to do more of it.
On the song end, this came from Mike Viola, a very prominent singer-songwriter who's now an A&R guy at Verve. He wanted to know about a King of the Nighttime World. That song was from Kim Fowley.
That's right.
Who people have a lot of interesting things to say about. But how did that song get to you in the band?
If I'm not mistaken, it was originally, a version of it was originally recorded by the Hollywood Stars that Kim Fowley worked with. And I forget what his name is, Mark something. And we heard a version of it that Bob Ezrin found and decided to record it, but rewrite it, add some more stuff to it. But it was Ezrin that possibly knew Kim Fowley. And can you answer this? What was Kim Fowley's first hit record?
I can visualize the cover, can't tell you the name of it.
The Hollywood Argyles, alley-oop, boop, 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 alley-oop, boop.
So you were familiar with his work even before the song?
Oh, of course. I mean, he founded, created the Runaways and lots of stuff.
Absolutely. James Lance, who works at VH1, basically wanted to know, his assumption was that the heavier side of the KISS catalog comes from you, the more Beatlesy stuff comes from Paul. So he was wondering, keeping that generalization in mind, if you ever wrote something and then you had to make it a little softer to appease Paul.
The answer is no, but I would say it's fair to say that the heavier stuff and the Beatles stuff kind of came from me, and Paul was more sort of English, more heavily English band influenced. Small Faces, Stones, that kind of stuff. I think that's a fair assessment.
Victor Indrizzo, a very prominent drummer who played on Paul's Live to Win album, wanted to know which album for you was the most fun to make. And I know that's a very general question. We talked about you can't say a favorite song.
I think it's a specific, again, it's never about the best song or the best this or the best, it's what memories they hold. And I will say that the first record was the most memorable one, because you have to understand, 1 second you're just a bum off the streets, and next second you go into Bell Sound, and you see a recording console in front of you, and you're on $75 a week salary, and all of a sudden you quit your day job, and you're you're a professional, and you have a recording contract, and there's even a guy there tuning your guitar.
Right.
So, you know, you just all of a sudden, you get to live the dream. You know, you grow up dreaming about it, and then boom, you get to live the dream. That was the most memorable record. I mean, I remember every day as it went by.
Have you all, you know, a sidebar to that, because you're a big archivist, actually ties into another question. Steve from the band Longwave wanted to know if you've been filming shows for years and years, and if so, if we might ever see a Creatures of the Night era DVD or some kind of live footage.
Sure.
Sure. Well, does that mean there might be another Kissology coming out?
Sure. Already done.
Already done. Can you tell me which era that might be?
You know, I don't remember. We finished it over a year and a half ago.
Okay. Robbie from the Goo Goo Dolls. Are we good on timer? Robbie from the Goo Goo Dolls wanted to know if you were wearing the makeup and costume when you recorded the vocal for God of Thunder.
No.
Did you ever record in the studio while wearing makeup?
No.
Okay, you said it very assertively.
I had to think.
Well, everyone knows that you're quite the Beatles fanatic, and John Davis from Superdrag wanted to know if you have a favorite period of the Beatles music, or even a favorite Beatles album.
It's so tough because back then they wrote more iconic, memorable songs than anybody. I mean, literally, even more than Gershwin. You're talking about the greatest songwriters of the 20th century, certainly. And by the time McCartney, especially, just McCartney was 20 years old. He'd written Eleanor Rigby, Yesterday, Michelle, and a number of other things. Just to give you an example of the profound impact, just McCartney, he wrote Yesterday, which originally was called Scrambled Eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Got some
My Have Pretty Legs, I think the next
sexy
line was.
legs or something.
Yeah.
And it was Lennon who pushed him to get more serious about it. But to make a long story short, 2,000 different artists have covered Yesterday. Just one song.
Sure.
I mean, everybody from Ray Charles to Eleanor Rigby was Aretha Franklin, Frank Sinatra. I mean, it just covers the gamut. So nobody's had that profound an impact. Just, I mean, at 20 years old, I couldn't even wipe my ass. Not well.
Well, are there other bands that have had anywhere near the same amount of influences the Beatles?
Nothing is even close. I mean, if you talk to Ozzy and a few of the other guys, you think, oh yeah, that's metal and stuff. No, it's not. You can't beat that songwriting. A great song is a great song.
Sure. Blair Goldberg, who's a Broadway actress, wanted to know if you ever considered turning your music into a musical.
Sure. In fact, I've been talking with Broadway folks and Vegas folks for almost 15 years about mounting a KISS Broadway-style show. Yeah. 4 knuckleheads who come off the streets of New York and create the band that they never saw on stage, along with the chicks and the trials and the tribulations, and of course the self-destructive behavior by some of the members.
Cool. And then Dave Hill, the last one of these, mentioned that he saw advice from you when he was growing up about be weird, don't worry about fitting in.
Yeah, that's right.
At what point in your life did you realize that it was kind of cool to be...
From?
I'm sorry?
Dave Hill from?
Dave Hill is a comedian, a prominent stand-up comedian who's also in the band Valley Lodge.
There you go.
He also has the theme song to that HBO show with John Oliver. Can't think of what it's called, but that John Oliver show, he's got the theme song.
Fascists and communists welcome? Oh, that's not it.
Last Week with John Oliver is the show.
Yeah, I know it well.
Yeah, so he heard that advice when he was growing up, and it meant a lot to him. You're known as one of the most confident people there is, and you believe in yourself. Where did that come from?
Well, when you have no choice, it's easier. When you're born in a lap of luxury and mom and dad always have food and the thing, and you get allowances for doing nothing and all that, you just have no sense of reality. Reality here, poor people go to bed hungry, and if they're lucky they've got a piece of bread, and that sounds all corny and stuff, but even in America, 15 million children go to bed hungry. And anybody out of a job will tell you how delicious food tastes when you're starving.
Sure.
And I've been there. You know, we came to America and my mother made $37.50 a week. $37.50
A week.
In a sweat factory. And, you know, when I had a jelly roll, I knew what good was, boy. I didn't worry about steak or filet mignon. Bullshit. Give me a donut or a ding dongs or a ring
It comes
ding.
back to the sweets.
Well, it's like, well, listen to the language. You're so sweet. It's never spoken about as any, even life. How sweet it is. Nobody talks about that. What a steak you are.
That's a great point.
Of course, the language says everything.
Sounds like another book for you.
Including that rich is a good word.
Sure.
How did your child do at school? Poorly. Or you say, oh, that poor kid. It's the language tells you the values of society, whether it's good or bad.
So 2 ask questions, then you're free. The first one is related to that last response. You're known for doing your philanthropy, but not really talking about, the work that you do. Why is that?
So what effect? I mean, the only thing I can do is to maybe get a few more dollars out of people to actually do some good, but I'd like to think that your responsibility and mine is to leave the world a better place than when we came into it. I mean, don't you think?
Sure.
You don't have to create utopia and all that, because that already existed with Todd Rundgren. You see what I did there?
I see what you did there.
But as an example, if this gets broadcast before the event, September 20th in St. Paul, Minnesota, we are doing a concert. Gene Simmons Band, Don Felder, Cheap Trick, Jayhawks, even Ace Frehley's going to jump up on stage.
Yes.
And we'll be playing for thousands of people. The proceeds are going to go to help our fellow Americans ravaged by, the bad weather stuff in Houston. And if you want to help, go to thechildrenmatter.ngo, thechildrenmatter.ngo, and help. Everybody can use your help. And by the way, there, but for the grace of God, it could have been you and your city and your family underwater. And only Americans are going to help each other. Trust me, Serbia is not sending first responders.
So in closing, any last words for the kids?
Yeah, check out genesimmonsvault.com for all the details. I will fly to wherever you live, and I'll bring the vault with me, all 40 pounds of it, and hand deliver it to you. Pretty much as a thank you. The flying around the world is not going to be cheap. I'm sure it'll cost me a good penny. But it's it's kind of, it's 44 years on. We've climbed many hills, not many left to climb, and
Sure.
it's probably time to say thank you.
Paltrocast.